Welcome back to CMS Connected. I am Tyler Pirate, and in today's Spotlight segment, we will be reviewing Intranet. Now, Intranet is one of the world's fastest growing intranet software companies with more than a decade of experience delivering collaborative intranet solutions. Now, Intranet is headquartered in Manchester, UK, with offices in New York, San Francisco, and has over 1 million users across a diverse range of clients, both in the private and public sector. Now, joining us via Skype for a more in-depth review of Intranet is Amy Martyn from Falcon-Software. Hi, Amy. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm great. It's good to see you, Tyler. Welcome you back to the show.
Thank you very much. Now, I got to ask you before we go any further, very quickly, what do you think of Scott and I being here on location by ourselves in the distillery? Because you've got to be a little bit nervous, right?
Well, I have to say that I'm a little jealous. I'm sure you've had a few cocktails. Getting prepped for the show? No, not at all.
No. Not at all. We're always professional here, I promise you that. But anyways, let's jump into it. Let's talk about Intranet. Give me a little bit more on their background.
Yeah, definitely. So Intranet is an out-of-the-box intranet platform, which is a very sophisticated and intelligent platform that really focuses on comprehensive workplace experiences for the end user. And it's really great for companies that don't have a developer on hand, don't have designer or IT, but also for those companies that don't want to take their staff off billables. They just want an intranet now, and they want to start utilizing it. So they first started in 2004. The CEO, Nigel Danson is his name. He's based, and the headquarters are based in the UK in Manchester. And in the last few years, they've really expanded. They have an office in New York, and then I also heard, juicy story, that they're opening up a new office just this month in San Francisco. So I think I might have been the first person to hear that, so that's exciting. But I think what's really interesting about this company is the fact of how much they have expanded in the last year. They've really expanded about 150% in the US marketplace. And they're projecting about the same, 150% for 2016, which is a huge number to hit again. But I really think that it is feasible for them, as they are, it's an intranet platform that's really socially based. And as intranets are getting more and more popular, millennials are using them more and more. Millennials really want recognition. They want to have that social workplace attention at work. So yeah, I hope for the best for them, and I think they can do it.
Now, you mentioned those targets, those are big targets. Were you able to get any information about why and how they hit this target back in 2015?
Yeah, I did actually. I got to speak directly with the US marketing director, Steve Zucker. So he gave me kind of the inside scoop of how they've expanded in the last year. And the reason kind of why they've done that, or part of the reason, is because of their work with nonprofits. And they really have settled into this niche very naturally. It wasn't really the way they planned out from the beginning, but is really working well for them. If you look at some of the big names that they're working with, they have about 650 customers worldwide. But in the US, some of the big nonprofit names are, YMCA, Make-A-Wish Foundation, March of Dimes, ASPCA, so all the really big nonprofit names. And I think what Steve Zucker was mentioning is that the reason that momentum has really started in this marketplace is that they really, nonprofits have a lot of pressure on them to deal with charitable spend, to deal with where is that charitable spend going? How is it being spent compared to their admin costs? And donors and stakeholders, they really need to know what are people doing every day? What are they doing with that money? So total transparency. Intranets are great for transparency, but especially with Intranet, they really nail this. They offer these, it's a live timeline that will show you content being pushed to all end users based on their activity. So their profile, keywords, not to mention like who they follow, the access they're trying to gather. And they also offer @mentioning and liking, which companies are really being on board with too. So this is just really great for nonprofits because they really then can see from these timelines all the current content that's happening with these, with the organization. So total transparency, total accountability, which is really what nonprofits are looking for.
Yeah, right. Now, you just mentioned, you talked about the companies that they work with, both in the public and private sectors. Talk about who they're working against and really how they differentiate themselves against them.
Right, yeah. So no one really likes talking about your competitors, obviously, but it's interesting to know because you can learn from your competitors as well. One of their biggest competitors is Jive. They're a big player in the game. They also deal with Igloo to a lesser extent. But what's interesting is they are getting a lot of calls, inquiries, and business from SharePoint. So people, that are using SharePoint are looking for other alternatives. SharePoint is not the only internet software provider out there anymore. So it's interesting. I think how Interact really stands out compared to their competitors is they offer this full content management intranet. So drag and drop, you can really get it to function exactly how you want it to, but also with this amazing social provider. So it's really an all-in-one platform. And I also found an article from Reagan who did a survey on the top 20 alternatives to SharePoint. Again, they were mentioning that SharePoint isn't the only alternative out there right now for intranets. And from the results, half were using SharePoint, of course, but the other half were using different alternatives. And this is really great for Interact. They were rated #1, followed by Joomla at number 10, Drupal at number 11, and then Jive at number 12.
All right, first off, you just amaze me when you memorize all those numbers. You just literally just rattle them off one at a time.
Oh, right, I have no notes in front of me.
Of course not. I would never think you had any notes whatsoever. All right, now let's go to the next question. You talk about them being #1. Usually when someone's ranked #1, you think that comes with a pretty big price tag. What does their pricing structure actually look like?
Yeah, so they offer great pricing, very reasonable, very flexible. It's kind of a baseline price of $8 per user to start with. But then they also have flexible pricing, so if you have more users, a larger quantity, they offer volume discounts. Another great draw for nonprofits is that they offer a 30% discount. So again, I think that's another reason why they're expanding in this industry so much.
So what everybody wants to know is, what's next? What do you see coming down the pipeline for Interact?
Yes, some exciting things are happening with this company. And I was also one of the first to find out that they have just released, or just about to release, the latest version of Interact, which is 7.9. So I had the awesome, amazing opportunity to get in touch with the VP of Sales, Daren Jennings. And he's actually with us right now to tell us all about the release, when it's coming, all about it. So I'm so excited to introduce him. Hi, Daren. How are you?
Hi, Amy. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So tell us, I'm just so interested and excited to hear all about this new version. Tell us a little bit about 7.9.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Some of these enhancements come from the innovations on our technical side, and they're more technical in nature, like changes to our intelligence algorithm, like you mentioned. But a lot of these updates come from our customer community, and our customers are made up primarily of communicators. These are people in marketing and communications, so they're not necessarily heavy technical type things. So they're very practical and common sense. And so one of the most fundamental changes that we're making in 7.9 is actually updating our content composer. So it's probably one of the most fundamental parts of any intranet, as you might imagine. And so we've streamlined the content composer. It's getting a whole new look and feel. So we're making it even easier than ever before to add and update and keep your content fresh and relevant. So really excited about that. There's one of the features, actually, part of the content composer that I'm most excited about, which is the discoverability score. So we're actually introducing some metrics for the content authors before it even goes live in terms of being published on the internet. In terms of how usable is it, how discoverable is it, and how are the people who are intended to consume that content actually going to be exposed to it. So it's going to give a lot of insight even before the content goes live. So very excited about that. There's a lot of other feature enhancements in 7.9. Another area, speaking of people, is actually going to be able to pull in different profile information from across multiple sources. So it's a little more technical in nature, but the idea is a lot of our customers are using Active Directory for authentication and profile fields, but they're also using other systems like HRIS systems like PeopleSoft or Workday. And so they want to pull in different profile fields from multiple systems to create a single version of the truth on the intranet. So Interact is going to make that very easy. Say, for example, you've got your first name, last name, and email that lives in an Active Directory. You might also have a manager or your cell phone or some industry-specific certifications that live on PeopleSoft. We can pull that data in, create a single profile experience. The benefit for the employees is they know that no matter what information they need about a colleague, it can be found on the intranet. So we're really excited. There's a lot of other changes happening, but you'll have to wait for release to see those.
Oh, wow. Holy, so much happening. That's exciting. And so do you kind of have an idea of when you think it's going to be released?
We do. Interact 7.9 is coming available the last week of May for our cloud customers and for on-premise customers as well. So they'll be able to download and apply that update. For all of our cloud customers, that will be applied automatically.
Oh, great. So right away, right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Yeah, exactly right.
And so kind of the crystal ball question, where do you kind of see the company headed in the next 3 to 5 years?
That is a crystal ball question. At Interact, our overall goal has always been to be the #1 intranet company in the world. Now, we consider that in terms of our customer retention and the feedback we get from our customers. And so, that's a high-level goal. It's quite lofty, but we think it's attainable. And, more specifically with that, how we're going to get there, one of our main goals is just to change the way employees consume content at work and engage with information. And so we already know, for example, that employees who engage with some of the intelligent content suggestions available on Interact are much more likely to come back to the internet for more information. So it's a very useful tool. So we're going to continue to innovate in the intelligence areas of the product, so we actually present the most relevant content to the right people at the right time. We also have a big approach towards mobile. There's some things that are coming out in 7.9 that are part of mobile, but that's going to be a continued theme for us going forward in the years to come. So we're investing in the product. We want to make this as easy as possible so that employees just have the best possible experience at work, and they have the tools they need to be successful.
Wow, lots happening. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the coming year and then even in the future. So thank you so much for your time. This was just so great to hear your feedback personally, right from yourself.
That's right. Yeah, and thank you for not saying the horse's mouth. I appreciate that.
You knew that I was going to say that.
I did. Well, you recovered well. Well, thank you, Amy. It was a pleasure being here.
Yes, you as well.
Excellent stuff indeed, Amy, Martyn. Great stuff as always. Big thanks to Daren as well, taking time out of the day. Coming up next, we'll bring back Scott in just a few seconds for the CMS Insider.
So you've got a great website. Your marketing team spends hours driving visitors to it and nurturing them into leads. And your sales team spends hours collecting, qualifying, organizing, and chasing those leads. Sales wants to focus on what they do best, selling. And marketing wants to get on with what they do best, creating innovative campaigns. But how do you make both teams happy? The solution is marketing automation.